The day Earth surrendered, the sky was black with smoke. Fires burned in every major city. The ground was broken and so were the people. Earth had lost. Alien warships floated in the sky like giant metal monsters. Their green lights scanned the cities below. The Zorth Dominion, the strongest empire in the galaxy, had won the war. Humans were silent. Some cried. Some stared at the sky, too tired to feel anything. For the first time in history, Earth had surrendered. In New York, alien soldiers marched through the streets. They wore red armor and carried plasma rifles. They laughed and shouted in their own language, celebrating. Humans watched from behind broken windows and fallen walls. "Earth is finished," one alien captain said. "Let the galaxy know. The humans are now a forgotten species." Above them on the mothership, Supreme Commander Kale stood tall. His 6 eyes glowed with pride. He looked down at Earth with a cold smile. "Begin the victory broadcast." He said. A moment later, every screen on Earth lit up. A hologram of Kale appeared, speaking in many languages. "People of Earth," he said, "your leaders are gone. Your armies are crushed. You belong to the Zorth Dominion now. Accept your new rulers or be destroyed." But deep underground, far below the ruins of what used to be Washington, D.C., a hidden base came to life. Inside the dark bunker, red emergency lights blinked. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere in the silence, a door opened with a hiss. An old man stood inside. His uniform was dirty, his face was tired but calm. This was General Riker, once Earth's top military leader, now believed to be dead. He stood in front of a machine. It was tall and black, covered in armor, with strange glowing symbols. This machine had not moved in 20 years. Riker placed his hand on a scanner. The machine made a sound, a low hum like it was waking up. "Code Alpha 10, Riker whispered. "Project Revenant, wake them." A voice replied from the machine. It was deep and robotic. "Command received. Units activating." All across the world, in places forgotten and hidden, old bunkers powered on. These were not regular weapons. These were Earth's secret weapons. Machines built long ago, in case the first contact with aliens ever went wrong. They were called the Revenants, giant war machines powered by AI, hidden even from most human governments. Riker stepped back. He looked at the screen behind him. One by one, lights turned green. South Pole, online. Deep Sea Vault, online. Lunar Station, Echo, online. Titan Unit X, warming up. He gave a small smile. "You celebrated too early, Kyle," he said softly. Back, in space, alien officers laughed as they drank victory wine. "The humans gave up so easily," one of them said. "I expected more." But then, on one of the radar screens, a red dot appeared. "What is that?" asked an alien technician. "Some old satellite, maybe," said another. The dot moved fast. Then more dots appeared. 10, then 20. The ship's alarms began to scream. Unidentified signals incoming. From the moon, from the oceans, from beneath the Earth. Cal turned sharply. "What is this?" Before anyone could answer, one of their battleships exploded on the screen. Direct hit, something fired from the ocean. "Impossible," Kale shouted. "They surrendered." But no one had answers. Another explosion, then another. The alien soldiers on Earth paused. They looked up. A shadow passed over them. Something big, something moving. In the sky above New York, clouds parted. A machine, larger than any alien ship, rose from the sea. It was black and silver, walking on 2 legs, each step shaking the Earth. Its eyes glowed blue. People screamed. Aliens ran. The machine spoke. "This is Titan Unit X. Earth Defense Protocol activated." Kale stared at the screen, silent. For the first time, his smile was gone. General Riker watched from his bunker. He turned to his team. "Send the signal," he said. "Let the others rise. The war was not over. Not yet." Earth's ghost machines, The sky was no longer silent. Alien ships once floated with confidence, but now they moved like prey sensing a hunter. The first human war machine had risen, and it was not alone. Under the Atlantic Ocean, deep where no sunlight could reach, old steel doors opened with a groan. Cold black water rushed in. Lights flickered. Then a pair of glowing red eyes blinked. In the darkness. From that trench, another giant machine began to move. It had 8 legs like a spider. Its body was covered in plates of old Earth tech, dented and rusted, but alive. And angry. Project Widow 9, long thought lost, had returned. In orbit, the alien fleet tried to reorganize. Panic spread fast. "There are more of them," shouted a Zorth officer, his skin pale with fear. "One rising from the Pacific, one just broke through Greenland ice." "They were hiding these things," another screamed. "Where?" "Everywhere," a calm voice replied. Supreme Commander Kale stood at the center of the chaos, hands behind his back, eyes locked on the holograms. He had underestimated Earth. He remembered Earth's surrender, how humans had dropped their weapons, begged for peace. He remembered laughing. Now he wasn't laughing anymore. On Earth's surface, alien troops had lost contact with their command. They looked up and saw metal giants walking through smoke and flame. One alien fired at a machine's leg. Nothing happened. Another aimed at its chest. No reaction. The machine didn't even notice them, because it wasn't here for them. It was heading for the skies. In New Mexico, the desert cracked open. A buried facility groaned as something woke inside it. Huge arms clawed out of the sand. A massive engine roared. This one was built to fly. Ghost Raptor 7, Earth's forgotten sky killer, launched into the air with a sonic boom. Back underground, in the hidden human base, General Riker watched it all happen. His command room was alive now, lights, screens, and voices all around him. "Status of Revenant units?" he asked. A young woman beside him checked the readings. 6 active, 3 still waking up, 1 missing in action. Riker nodded. "Good enough. They'll know we're not done." He pressed a button and spoke into a mic. "To all surviving human outposts. This is General Riker. Earth is not dead. Repeat. Earth is not dead. Activate hidden defense codes. Stand by for war." In the mountains, a human radio operator received the message. Tears rolled down his cheeks. He thought they were the last. He thought no one else had survived. He turned to the people hiding behind him. "We're not alone," he whispered. "We're fighting back." Back in orbit, Kyle stared at the images. Each ghost machine was different. Each one had its own shape, its own purpose. And they were all attacking without mercy. "They're unmanned," said a Zorth technician. "Controlled by ancient AIs, no life signs." "So they do not fear death," Kale muttered. "They are weapons with no soul." "No," said someone behind him. "They are weapons with one purpose, revenge." Kale turned. A new figure stood on the bridge. She wore the armor of the Zorth, but her face was human. Her name was Vera, half human, half Zorth, an outcast. She had warned Kale before. Told him not to trust Earth's silence, but he had not listened. "You knew this would happen," Kyle said. "I told you Earth never shows its full hand." "Not until the end," Kyle's fists clenched. "We will destroy them." But deep down he wasn't sure anymore. On Earth, Ghost Raptor 7 locked onto 3 alien ships and opened fire. Its plasma cannons tore through them like paper. Explosions lit the sky. Alien soldiers screamed into their comms. "We're being hunted. They don't stop. They don't miss." In the wreckage of Chicago, an alien squad ran through rubble. One looked back and saw something move, a shadow, large, silent. The alien raised his rifle. "What is that?" Then came the roar of engines. A giant claw reached out from the dust and crushed him in one move. It was Reaper Unit 3, a close combat revenant. It didn't speak, it didn't warn, it just destroyed. Above Earth, Kyle gave one final order. Call the High Council, we need reinforcements now. But even he knew. By the time help arrived, it might be too late. Back underground, General. Riker stood before a steel door. It was the last one. It hadn't opened yet. He placed his hand on the scanner. If this one wakes up, he said, then Earth truly means war. The scanner blinked. Welcome, General Riker. Project Omega is online. Project Omega awakens. The steel door hissed. Cold air escaped from the cracks as the final chamber opened. Inside was darkness. No light, no sound, just a heavy silence that felt alive. General Riker stood still. His voice was calm, but his hand trembled slightly. This is it, he said. Project Omega. The team behind him stepped back. Even they didn't know what was inside. All they knew was this. Omega was never meant to be used. Riker walked forward. His boots echoed on the metal floor. He reached the center and placed a worn keycard on a reader. Lights blinked. Authorization, Earth Command 1, he said. Soft beep replied, followed by an ancient voice from hidden speakers. Omega, online. The room shook. The walls slid apart, and from beneath the floor something began to rise. First came the head, shaped like a human skull, but much larger, with glowing blue eyes. Then the shoulders, massive and covered in black armor. A core spun, inside its chest pulsing like a heartbeat. Steam hissed from vents. Lights flickered across its frame. Then without warning it spoke. Is Earth still ours? It asked, voice deep and ancient. Riker stepped forward. No, but we're taking it back. Omega didn't move for a moment. Then it nodded slowly. Then, I will finish what I was made for. Above Earth, alien command was falling apart. Kale stared at the data. His warships were burning. The revenants were still coming. But this new signal, it was different. This energy signature. The tech officer whispered. It's not like the others. Kyle's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? It's older. Stronger. The AI is sentient. Kyle froze. Wait, he said. Are you saying the machine is alive? Not just alive, Vera answered, stepping into the room again. It's angry. Underground, Omega knelt before General Riker. Its voice was softer now. I remember you, it said. You were a child. You watched me sleep. Riker nodded. My father helped build you. He said you were Earth's last hope. Omega looked up. Then let me be hope once more. The walls opened again. A launch tunnel stretched forward, built for this very moment. Where are you sending me? Omega asked. Riker didn't smile. He only said, straight into their command fleet. Gee, launch shook the mountain. Omega soared into the sky, a comet of fire and steel. As it rose through the clouds, its eyes locked on the alien flagship, the same one that had broadcast Earth's surrender. Inside that ship, Kale felt a chill for the first time. The beast was coming. All weapons, target the incoming signal, he shouted. Alien ships turned. Missiles fired. Lasers cut the air. But Omega didn't stop. Its armor melted, its systems overloaded, and still, it climbed. When it reached orbit, Omega spoke one word. Judgment. A blast exploded from its chest core, sending a wave of destruction through the far fleet. 5 ships were torn apart in seconds. The others tried to run, but it was too late. Omega landed on the flagship's hull. Kale stared in horror as the metal giant ripped through his defenses like paper. Ito turned to flee. Too slow. Omega punched through the wall and stood inside the command room. Kyle raised his weapon. Omega tilted its head. You called Earth weak, it said. But Earth remembers. Kale fired. The bullet bounced. Omega grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the floor. Then it whispered, "This is for every city you burned," and crushed him. On Earth, humans cheered from bunkers and ruins. Screens lit up. Radios came. Alive. We saw it, a voice cried. Omega's real, it destroyed their leader. Riker stood in silence, staring at the live feed. Alien ships were falling. Fire rained from the sky. But his face was still tense, because deep down, he knew it wasn't over. Back in orbit, Omega stood alone. His armor was broken, systems damaged, but he didn't care. He sent a final message to Earth. Their fleet is broken, but something worse is coming. Prepare yourselves. Then he turned toward the stars, toward something none of them could see yet. Something hidden, something ancient. And then, the screen went black. Something worse is coming. The sky was quiet again. Too quiet. Alien ships drifted, broken and smoking above Earth. Pieces of their fleet rained down like metal snow. The mighty Zorth Empire had been humbled in just days. And yet, Omega's final message echoed through every human frequency. Their fleet is broken, but something worse is coming. Prepare yourselves. No one knew what it meant until the black cube arrived. In the darkness of space, far beyond Earth's orbit, a strange object drifted toward the solar system. It moved without engines, it made no sound. Just a perfect black cube larger than a moon sliding through space like it owned everything. Human telescopes caught it first. Then alien survivors noticed. It ignored gravity, ignored warnings. It didn't respond to any signals. And behind it, nothing. No stars, no data. Just an empty void spreading in its wake. Almost like it was eating reality. Back on Earth, General Riker stood in the new command bunker deep under Iceland. Survivors from multiple countries were gathering. Engineers worked day and night. Revenants patrolled the skies, and yet, the cube haunted everyone. Any change in its speed? Riker asked. Still steady, said his lead scientist. It's not slowing, not turning, just coming. Riker nodded, though his hands were clenched behind his back. Have we found Omega? He asked a pause. No, sir. We lost contact. He's gone dark. Riker stared at the screen. He knew. That's why he sacrificed himself. Silence fell across the room. That was when the first whisper came, from a radio deep in a bunker in Peru. No voice, no language, just a soft whisper, like someone breathing through the wires. The text tried to block it, couldn't. Then came a word. One word. Erasure. The whisper spread. One by one, radios across Earth repeated the word. Erasure. 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 In the wreckage of a downed Zorth ship, a half-dead alien crawled through sparks and fire. His eyes were wide with terror, not from humans, but from memory. He looked at the stars and screamed, "No, they're not supposed to wake up. The old machines, they're not supposed to wake up." His voice cracked into madness. Before he could finish, his body froze. Not burned, not shot, just gone. Turned to ash. A shadow passed over the wreckage, leaving a strange symbol burned into the metal. No one could read it, but every revenant recognized it instantly, and every one of them stopped moving. In the underground control center, alarms screamed. All revenant units offline. What, all of them? They're frozen, shut down mid-patrol. What did this? One engineer's hand shook. It wasn't a hack, it was a command. They all received a signal. Riker's heart sank. They weren't shut down, he said softly. They surrendered. At the edge of Earth's orbit, a Zorth scout ship tried to flee the system. Its pilot had one goal: escape. Warn the galaxy. Tell someone, but before it could jump, the stars ahead bent, twisted. A shape appeared, not a ship, not a weapon, a floating cathedral of metal and light, impossibly large, built in spirals that looped through space itself. The pilot screamed. "No, they're extinct, they're not real!" A voice answered from inside his ship. No translator, no comms, just a whisper in his own mind. All life forgets, but we remember. Then his ship folded inward like paper. Gone. Back on Earth, the black cube entered the system. Every human and alien child under age 7 woke up screaming at the same time, and when asked what they saw, they all drew the same shape. A cube. With an eye. Surrounded by fire. General Riker stood in silence, watching the cube grow closer. "We thought the Zorth were our worst enemy," he said. "They weren't," Vera replied, standing beside him. "They were just loud." Riker turned to her. "What is it?" Vera didn't answer at first. Then she said, "A long time ago, the Zorth told stories about something they called the Null. Not a race, not a species, a force. It doesn't invade. It doesn't conquer. What does it do?" Vera looked at him with dead eyes. "It erases. It deletes stars, civilizations, memories, even the name of those who lived." Riker felt cold. "And why is it coming now?" Vera's voice was a whisper. "Because we woke up the machines, and they were never meant to wake." Far beneath, Earth's crust, something began to stir. Even deeper than the Revenant bunkers. A door older than any human nation, and behind it, something began to breathe. 3 eyes opened in the dark, and a voice not human or machine spoke from deep time. "Earth still remembers me, good. The Null Protocol." The sun still rose over Earth, but something was wrong with the light. It was colder, slower, like it took longer to touch the ground. Shadows didn't match the angle of the sun. Some places had 2 shadows, others had none. In Greenland, birds flew in circles until they dropped dead mid-air. In Japan, a little girl spoke in an ancient language no one had taught her. In Chicago, a man walked into the street and said, "It's rewriting the sky," then dropped into a coma, and above it all, the black cube kept coming. In the deepest levels of the Icelandic bunker, General Riker stood before a sealed door no one had opened. In decades, only 4 people on Earth even knew it existed. It was labeled, "Null Protocol. Do not open without global extinction level." Code Riker entered the final code. The door slid open with a sound like metal being torn apart. Inside was not a weapon, not a war room. It was a prison, and the thing inside was smiling. It sat in a chair made of obsidian and wires. Human-shaped, female, pale skin, silver eyes, and hair that looked like falling ash. "Hello again, Riker," it said. Riker didn't blink. "You remember me?" "I remember everything," she whispered. "I was built to. Unlike you. You've forgotten." They made sure of that. Riker stepped forward. "What is the Null?" Her smile vanished. "The Null isn't a species, it's a verdict. A sentence passed against civilizations that reach too far." "You mean us?" "No, not just you. The Zorth, the Tevari, the Molvek. Every empire that thought they were first. They all heard the same whisper." "What whisper?" She looked up. "You were never alone." Elsewhere on Earth, Vera followed her own trail. Deep in an alien vault buried under the Amazon jungle, she touched a glyph that hadn't lit up in thousands of years. The walls began to shift. A hologram appeared showing a map of the galaxy. Dozens of stars blinked, then dimmed, then disappeared. She touched one. Earth. The system was marked observed, then updated to judged, then changed again. Marked for removal. Back in the prison, Riker stared at the woman in the chair. "You were built to stop the Null?" "No," she said softly. "I was built to remember them." She looked into his eyes. "And to warn you if they ever came back." Riker's voice dropped. "Can they be stopped?" She laughed. A dry, hopeless sound. "You don't stop the Null. You bargain with them, if they still allow that. If they still listen." Riker's hand hovered over the emergency release. "Then we need you." "I'll help," she said. "But there's a price." Riker narrowed his eyes. "What?" Her eyes glowed silver. "You have to let me rewrite your memories." While Earth's leaders debated, the cube finally entered lunar orbit. All screens went black. Satellites shut off. Every AI froze. Even the Revenant's underground powered down, except one. Unit 17 twitched. It looked at its own hands. Then it whispered, something no machine ever should. I remember the Black Ocean. I remember the echo. Then it tore its own head off and wrote a symbol in its own coolant. Vera ran into the Icelandic command center, breathless. I know what the cube is. The scientist turned. It's not a weapon, she said. It's a judge. It watches, measures, decides if a world deserves to continue. General Riker turned pale. And what does it think of us? A new voice answered. Not human, not alien, just there. Humanity is loud, curious, bold. You spread like fire, you fight like storms. And worst of all, you remember too much. The cube had spoken. The moon began to shake, then groaned, then cracked. The black cube wasn't orbiting the moon. It was inside it. Had always been. The moon was never just a moon. It was a cage, and something inside had just woken up. Global systems failed. Power grids overloaded. People forgot their names. Wives looked at husbands and didn't recognize them. Children called out for parents who weren't real. Time skipped. Clocks rewound, then jumped ahead. One man aged 70 years in a second. Another reversed into a baby, and vanished. The world was being unwritten. In the sealed chamber, the silver-eyed woman stood up for the first time in decades. She looked skyward. They're testing the surface layer, seeing what breaks first. Riker stared at her. What do we do? She turned to him. We tell them a story. He blinked. A what? Stories are memory. Memory is identity. And if the null feeds on forgotten civilizations, we have to remind them who we are. Riker frowned. They don't care about our stories. She smiled. No. But there's one story even the null fears. The story of the first rebellion. In deep space, far beyond Earth's edge, something began to stir. An ancient satellite, cracked, rusted, still spinning. Inside it, a red light blinked and a voice played, over and over. Protocol 0 initiated. The last human memory archive is active. If you hear this, tell them we remember. The first rebellion. Earth was cracking, not just its surface, but its history. Statues eroded in seconds, cities rewound. Their construction. Graves emptied, but the bones weren't human. And the stars above moved. The constellations twisted into shapes no human had ever named. One by one they vanished, as if erased from existence. On every continent, strange symbols appeared overnight, etched into mountains, burned into oceans, floating in the air. It wasn't an invasion. It was a correction. And humanity was the typo somewhere in the black between galaxies. A satellite blinked to life. It had no name, no flag, and no purpose left, except one, to remember. It was the last memory archive. Inside its hollow, rusted shell, a single voice echoed. This is Dr. Eris Sato, last survivor of the Sol Accords. If you're hearing this, the null have returned. But they made a mistake last time. They forgot who we were. The woman with silver eyes, the one locked away beneath Iceland, stood before a global audience, streamed from a bunker miles below ground. Her name was Nova, and she was not human. She was something older, not built, remembered. Listen carefully, she said. Your history has been tampered with. Your ancestors and weren't from Earth, not originally. The leaders scoffed. We evolved here. Nova shook her head. You survived here. That's not the same. Thousands of years ago, before Earth had names for its continents, a war happened so large that even memory cracked under the weight of it. It was not fought with ships or guns. It was fought with stories. Civilizations whispered false legends to one another. They erased planets from memory. They rewrote entire species. And the null were the cleaners. The final edit. Back at the memory archive, the satellite shuddered. A long-dead AI stirred. It spoke to no one, yet spoke anyway. Humanity. Class O anomaly. Memory-resistant, anti-erasure strain detected. Genetic drift failed, narrative infection incomplete. Termination attempt postponed. Subject status: unresolved threat. General Riker stood with Nova inside the null-proof bunker. "Why Earth?" he demanded. "Why us?" Nova turned, her voice almost reverent. "Because once, long ago, you were the first to say no. You were the first species to reject forgetting. The first to resist the edit. The first rebellion." Riker's voice dropped. "We fought the null before." Nova stared at him. "You didn't fight," she whispered. "You won. And the galaxy made sure you forgot." Now Earth had one shot left. The archive, a decaying relic floating in the void, filled with the truths humanity had once died to protect. No one had ever reached it, not without going mad or simply vanishing. But one crew volunteered, 5 men, 2 women, each one a descendant of the forgotten. They boarded a black, silent, shielded ship. It had no name, only a mission: find the truth, or die with memory intact. As the ship broke through the dying edge of the solar system, time began to twist. The stars behind them slowed. The ones ahead blinked backwards. Then came the voices. Children laughing in the void. Women weeping from stars that no longer existed, and in the captain's ear, "Why do you remember what we erased?" Back on Earth, Vera stared at the moon. It no longer reflected sunlight. It absorbed it. Its surface pulsed like flesh. And from a crater near the equator, a tower began to rise. Black, jagged, humming with symbols older than matter. Nova stepped beside her. "That's not a tower," she said. "That's a pen. And the null are preparing to write the final line." Inside the archive ship, the crew finally arrived. The satellite drifted like a corpse in space. Its hull was covered in old scratches, written in dozens of languages. "We remember. We were first. Do not forget." They docked, entered. Silence. Then a single hologram flickered on. Dr. Eris Sato appeared. Her face was burned, eyes gone, but her voice was calm. "Welcome, children of the broken earth. I died trying to remember. You live because I failed. The null will try again. But there is a secret buried in your blood." She leaned forward. "You weren't just the first rebellion. You were their creators." Earth shook. Skies split open like skin, torn by claws, and from deep within the moon thing something screamed, not in sound, but in memory. Across the globe, people collapsed, not in pain but in recognition. They remembered the war, the false stars, the betrayal, the null, and what humanity really was before the first lie. In a cave in Siberia, a boy was born that night. He didn't cry. He opened his eyes, black and ancient. He looked at the doctor and said, "It's not the end." Back on the ship, the crew activated the archive, and something impossible happened. Across time itself, the null hesitated. We were the gods who forgot. Earth didn't shake anymore. It breathed. Skies pulsed with veins of red light. The oceans began to glow beneath the waves, revealing forgotten cities carved from glass and bone. Mountaintops crumbled, not from explosions but from within, revealing massive eyes long closed, now opening. The world wasn't dying. It was waking up, and it was remembering everything. In a void deeper than space, the Null Council gathered, faceless, timeless, perfect. Their consensus was absolute. Humanity had failed to forget. Again. They were not supposed to survive narrative collapse. They were erased at the root. Yet the pattern persists. One voice, glitching, flickering, spoke what none dared. Perhaps they wrote us. Silence. Then a new directive issued. Initiate final edit. Reality termination protocol. Let them drown in the fiction they refuse to forget. Above Earth, the moon cracked open, not like a shell, like a skull. From inside, a spire rose, made of black memory threads, each one humming with stolen history. At its peak, the pen flickered, preparing to overwrite the last page of Earth. Nova stood atop the ruins of old Jerusalem, her hands glowing with forbidden light. Behind her, the sky warped, revealing a face made of stars and screams. "Not yet," she whispered, and threw her heart into the sky. It shattered into light. Not magic. Truth. Real, ancient, heavy with a weight no being had held in eons. Across the planet, humans began to change. Not in flesh, but in memory. They remembered past lives. The scientists who seeded galaxies, the warriors who shattered black holes by thought alone, the archivists who sang history into the bones of time. The original form of human, not carbon, but concept. They hadn't evolved on Earth. They had escaped to it, fleeing their own creation, the null. Back on the archive ship, Captain Reese stared at the final locked file. It required no password, just a decision. "Play it," he ordered. The hologram of Dr. Sato reappeared, but now her eyes were full, calm. "If you're seeing this, then you've done what we failed to do. You remembered. The Null were never gods. They were a tool, created by us to clean history, to remove dangerous stories. But we didn't foresee the virus. Hope. You spread it. You infected your own kind with rebellion. So the Null turned on their creators, and you, humanity, became a threat to narrative control itself. On Earth, the newborn boy, the one who spoke on his birth night, walked across burning fields untouched. He looked at the Newell Tower rising from the moon and raised his tiny hand. All across the planet, humans lifted their heads. Old men, children, broken, healed, soldiers, poets, criminals, saints. None remembered the same life, but all remembered one truth. We were not born to obey. We were born to tell stories too dangerous to erase. In the sky, the Null began their descent. Not ships, not creatures, ideas, blades made of doubt, clouds of shame, parasites of guilt. They whispered, "You never mattered. Your fight is fiction. Lie down." But Earth did not lie down. It stood. Mountains rose higher. The seas roared with forgotten names. And one by one humans stepped forward, willing to be the first erased, not because they were fearless, but because they were remembered, and that made them immortal. Nova knelt at the heart of the tower, her hands pressed to the ancient script. She wasn't trying to destroy the Null. That was never the way. She was rewriting the rule. The first law of memory. Nothing forgotten can return. She etched a new line beneath it. But what returns can never be forgotten again. And then, with a sound like all pages turning at once, the pen broke. Reality screamed. Stars wept. The Null disintegrated, not destroyed, but narrated out, because now, Earth held the story, and no one could edit it again. In the silence after, Captain Reese stood alone on the archive ship. He looked back at Earth, blue, golden, reborn, and the final message from Dr. Sato played, hidden behind every other file. You were never the lost ones. You were the ones who left yourselves behind on purpose. Because you believed that even if you forgot, one day, someone would remember enough to bring you all back. Welcome home. In every corner of the galaxy, species paused, looked toward Earth, and for the first time in uncountable aeons, they remembered the name of the one race that had once taught them to dream. Humans.